This is from our H-O-U-R, Mud4227, who says, how do you network for your startup effectively by looking like you're not networking? Long story short, I have a startup focused on creating custom solutions for clients in our market. It's finally moving past its early gestational development phase, where we have been focused largely on laying down some basic building blocks, et cetera, et cetera. I get that interpersonal networking is a big part of this and one of the most effective ways to acquire clients, especially for companies focused on providing custom solutions. But when I look for information on how to network effectively, which I've tried to do along the way, of course, I see a lot of advice from commenters and successful people that more or less say the trick is when networking, don't approach potential contacts like a salesman trying to sell a product. That's very true. That might be a turnoff. Just try to have authentic conversations and form mutually beneficial relationships. Then some of the people you form relationships with might develop into a client, introduce you to people who will become clients, or help you in some other way. Doing this consistently is how you build a network. Okay, we'll just leave it there. All right, so I mean, I agree. I think that's absolutely the right way to do it. Clearly, this guy is having some problem with that, however. As I read down further, he says, I'm chatting with a new contact and they mention what they do. I realize asking certain questions about what they do could lead to useful information. What is the best way to ask these questions or acquire this information? So I'll just don't go at it like, what do you do from the point of view of I'm trying to sell you something? Just make it like very casual. Oh, so what do you do for a living?
Hmm?
Oh, really? That sounds very interesting. Tell me more about that. Right?
Yeah.
And you'll start getting an understanding of, what these people's interests are, what kind of businesses they own or run or they're a part of, et cetera, and leave it at that. I wouldn't go into the sales pitch, right? Meet him again 2, 3, 4 times down the line, right? Eventually he'll say, well, what do you do? Oh, funny you should ask. And maybe that's where you kind of start working in your topics a little bit more, but just keep it more of, the inquisition side. What do you guys do? Tell me about that. That sounds really cool, really interesting. Oh, I've heard of that. That's with this, and this, right? Yeah, great.
I think people confuse networking with sales working, right?
Ooh, I like that.
What?
I like that. That's good. That's a great
So
way to put it.
if you are networking, the goal should be to build long-term relationships with people that might benefit you or you might be able to help them. I am of the nature that I don't care whether you ever do business with me, but if I can help your business,
Yes.
I will do so. And I have other people that will do the same thing for me,
Yep.
right? And I always give the example of one of my buddies is a financial advisor, and I have sent him an ungodly amount of business, right? And he came to me the one time. He's like, hey, I'm going to take you out in golfing. And I'm like, sure. So we go play, and he's like, so I brought you out here for a very specific reason. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I feel bad that you've sent me all this business and I haven't been able to send any to you. And I'm like, okay, here's what I want you to think about. When you sit down with an owner of a business, what conversations are you having with that owner? And he goes, well, we're normally planning for the future and how to put money aside and like how to secure their stuff. And I'm like, okay, so where in that conversation are you going to fit in? Oh, by the way, you should go spend money on marketing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they're not in a growth mindset at the time. They're in at a protect and invest mindset.
Sure.
So interjecting, oh, you should go spend more money on marketing doesn't fit into the conversation. Like I never expected to get a referral from him other than possibly, printing his business cards or brochures, whatever it was. But this is the whole point is if you start networking with people and you start giving, you're going to get from somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what networking is about. It is not about trying to pick low-hanging fruit that's going to be an easy sell, because that doesn't happen.
Now, you will see people doing that too along your journey, right?
Yeah.
As you're networking, start learning how to identify the people that are only there trying to make a sale. And if they can't make a sale with you, you are worthless to them. You have no value to them whatsoever.
I have a rule.
Get away from those people.
Yeah, I have a rule. If you are walking around the room with a stack of business cards in your hand, trying to hand out as many as you can, I'll take it, but that will end up in the trash.
Yeah.
That's the person I would need to see 2, 3, 4, 5 times before I would even look at their card to see what they do.
I mean, it's not uncommon for me, or I'm sure for you as well, to go to an hour-long networking event and talk to 2 people.
Yeah.
Which will have very long conversations with those people.
So I actually don't do that anymore.
Oh, really?
So, no. So what I do is I have the, I call it the 10-2 rule.
Okay.
So when I go to a networking event, my goal is to have brief conversations with 10 people, but then have 2 follow-up meetings with 2 out of those 10 people in the following week.
I like that. That's
right.
neat.
So because you get a good feel in a short conversation whether you think it's someone that you may be beneficial to or may be beneficial to you. Well, you're not going to build the relationship at the networking event.
Right.
The relationship is going to get built outside of that. So we train all of our sales rep, anybody that does networking for our business, we train them on that 10-2 rule.
I like that. That's a good one.
Is network with at least 10 people and pick the 2 that you really want to follow up with because we're beneficial to them or they could be beneficial to us.
So let's talk about the follow-up because the follow-up is a huge part of this, right? I don't think people realize how important the follow-up is. It's more than just like, hey, I'll see you at the next networking event. Invite that person out to coffee, to lunch, or whatever, golf, something, whatever. Like me, what I do is I actually you've gone to these. I get a balcony suite at the Flyers game. I'm trying to do the Phillies as well, and I'll invite 10 or 15 of my newer clients or people that I'm networking with out to there, and it's just a friendly just come on out, enjoy the game, have fun, And if I don't hear from 2 or 3 of them again, I don't care. It doesn't matter. But it's just a way of just showing that it's a friendly thing more than a sales pitch.
But it's also allowing you to set up a much closer knit networking event, right?
Right.
And now everybody has a starting point for a conversation because it's how did you get to know Mike?
Right. Exactly.
Why did you get invited?
Yeah.
Like
that's what happens. That's exactly what happens. Yeah, why did you get him? How did you make the cut?
Right. But it kind of happens, right? Yeah. Like people get curious, like why did you get invited? Because it's a select few that get invited. And it triggers conversations. And that then triggers conversations about, well, here's what Mike did for me. Here's how I got in touch with him. Right. And now that person goes, oh, I was having a similar issue. And it's like,
yeah, exactly.
You might want to talk to Mike, right?
Right. The same thing with you. The same thing, I need some marketing. I need this. Yep. Doesn't matter what you're doing. So stuff like that, that's how you go out and you start networking. It is not about, like you said, having a stack of business cards. Hi, I'm John. Hi, I'm John. Hi, I'm John.
So I'll give you a perfect example of where this process blew my mind. So I had a few TikTok videos go viral, right?
Yep.
And I randomly get a message from a guy. He's like, hey, can we talk? And I'm like, he has no followers, no nothing. I couldn't really find anything about the guy other than like a website that didn't really look good. And I'm like, do you know what? There's a reason he's reaching out to me, right? So I email him. He emails me back. We set up a time to meet. We get on Zoom, only to find out that he is like the 3rd largest VC in Israel.
Get out of here.
Right?
Wow.
But it was just a random thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is this guy reaching out to me? Right? Only to find out that what he wanted to inquire with me about was the early stages of when like ChatGPT was coming out and we had figured out how to get it to do like really cool things.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
He wanted me to educate certain businesses, I can't disclose what it was,
of course.
On how they could utilize this for their internal marketing teams.
Very cool.
Right? And we're talking, I can say like they're sports teams and they're sports teams you would have heard of. But even these sports teams are trying to innovate and figure out how they can do more for less. Mm-hmm. So like I had opportunities to have conversations with like sports clubs that people are like, what? You got to talk to them? And I'm like, yeah. And once you dig into it, you realize that some of these, like what you think of as a big brand, right? Like a soccer club or whatever,
right?
Their marketing department and social media team is literally like one person trying to keep up, right? And you're like, damn, like if you're,
you think they have these big teams?
No, a lot of these clubs have like one person handling their social media, right? And it was kind of funny. Like now, don't get me wrong. If you're Manchester United or the Sixers or the Flyers, yes, there's a team behind you, right?
Right.
But what's the name of that show on Apple TV, The Coach?
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso,
I was just
right?
thinking that.
And you see it and you're like, oh, so it was one girl that basically ran their marketing and you know, all their social media stuff. And
Healy.
like, okay.
Oh,
yes.
we just finished the third season the other night.
But like, that's the reality of what some of these businesses are doing, right? But like, if I wouldn't have posted that video, if I wouldn't have taken that meeting, if I wouldn't have talked to that guy, I never would have had the opportunity to talk a lot of these other clubs. When I took that meeting, I had no intention of selling the guy anything because I didn't even know who he was or what he did.
Right.
Like, I just figured there was a reason he wanted to connect with me. And most of the time, I assume people are trying to sell me something, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
But he wasn't. Like, he was a true networker. And that's when I started understanding why he had all the connections he had. Like I could text him right now and be like, hey, can you set up a meeting for me with the marketing director of the Cubs, right? And he would probably go, sure, right? Like, that's how connected that guy is.
That's great.
But he wouldn't be able to do his VC stuff if he didn't build that network first.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
It's his entire business is based on having built networks over time. And one of the things, I don't remember if it was him that said it or someone else, right? Is, you know, be interested, not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if you're interested, people feel like you genuinely care.
Yeah.
If you are trying to be interesting, it can be off-putting.
Well, because you're constantly talking about yourself.
Correct. So networking, once again, is not about an immediate sell. Networking is about getting access to people that you might otherwise not ever had access to.
Yep.
And that's where people go wrong with networking a lot, is they're trying to sell work instead of network.
Exactly. And again, you know, I guess now that we've gone through this, I kind of like the way they pose the question here. How do you network without looking like you're trying to network? And that's exactly what it is. Just have conversations. Conversations don't have to be about work. They don't have to be about what you do. Conversations can just be conversations.
Yes.
Hey, if you have kids, what do they do? How old are they? You know, what schools are they in? Do they play football? Do they play basketball?
So you and I have talked about this I believe in the past, right? Is I always say, like, if you're networking, your ultimate goal is to build trust with other people, right?
Yep.
And let's say, for argument's sake, that it takes 10 hours worth of communication to build trust. How quickly you're going to get those 10 hours in if you know that's the number. Right? You're going to get it in as quickly as you can, right? Like, hey, let's do lunch every day for the next 10 days, right? Like, now you're 10 hours.
But it's not really quantifiable like that.
Correct. But, you know, if you know it's a baseline, right? You know it's going to take more than one meeting. It's going to take more than one lunch, right? It's going to take a few hours. So why not get the hours in as quickly as you can without being pushy, right? Because ultimately you're trying to build trust with someone. If you're doing it in a way where you're pushy, it's not going to work. But you're genuinely trying to build. It's got
to be organic. Keep it organic.
Correct. Like, but ultimately your goal is to build the relationship, not make the sale.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Because the relationship will lead to business down the line. Most of the time, not even with that person.
Oh no,
with other people that person knows.
Correct.
And that's how networking works.
It's the introduction to the introduction.
If you're going in there trying to say, I got to leave here with 2 or 5 sales today, you're in the wrong place.
Yep.
Doing the wrong thing.
Yep.
It's not how it works. So I used to love trade shows. I used to love going to trade shows for that, just to meet people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It used to be a lot of fun. Meet people, see what they do, see what other vendors are doing. I used to really enjoy doing that. Mm-hmm. And I made so many connections from doing that. Never sold anybody anything. It wasn't the purpose of doing it. It was just making those connections with people of like mind, like industry. It always worked out pretty well.
I told you the story when I went to the my very first franchise expo in the US,
I believe
right?
So, yeah.
When I met the attorney that was just sitting outside.
Yeah. Right.
And that's a classic example. Like, almost all of my franchise connections today have come from me meeting him and him introducing me to others.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but if it wasn't for me having sat next to him and actually had the conversation, I wouldn't have had any of these other connections that I have today. Yeah. Right?
Can't tell how many people, as I travel a lot, I can't tell you how many people I've been on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
Just sitting next to them on the plane, conversation starts up. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a chatty guy. I like to chat, right?
Yeah.
And just so sometimes not everybody, but some people I keep in contact with years later.
I know. Like
Maybe it's like once a quarter or something like that. But it's like, hey, how you doing? Just reach out and say hello.
like that weirdo a few years ago that rented your Airbnb.
Yeah, that crazy guy,
That
right?
crazy
What
guy,
a
right?
weird dude. His
I
name
know.
was Gummy from Iceland. I mean, what's a gummy? What are you talking about?
But it's just such a like an example of networking opportunities are everywhere.
Yeah.
So yes, you can go to networking events, but there are opportunities.
Yeah,
that
in
present
fact, that's a
themselves.
perfect example. That was a business transaction
Yep.
that had absolutely nothing to do with the businesses you and I are involved with now.
Nope.
Completely different, out of left field. No, has nothing to do with what we do
Correct.
today.
And then we decided to meet up a couple of times after
Yeah.
that, and then
We became friends.
well,
and,
some time passed, right?
Yeah.
Because we had like
well, yeah,
COVID
sure.
and all that stuff,
Right.
right? And then we reconnected through networking again, and
Yep.
like it was one thing led to another, and
Crazy.
here we are.
All right. So anyway, our Mud 4227. You know, I hope that gives you some idea on what to do. I do think you have the right mindset. Network, but don't look like you're networking. That's absolutely right. Just go start relationships.
Build friendships.
Make friends.
Yes.
Exactly. I was
Go
gonna say,
make
make
friends.
friends. Go make friends. Like when you were a kid. Go make friends.
Find out
Hey
what-
guys, can I play too? You know,
Yes.
it's exactly
Yes.
right.
Find
You
out what sporting teams they like.
Yeah,
Find out what
exactly.
their hobbies are. right?
Exactly.
Remember that if you have questions or comments, please drop them below and we will prioritize actually answering the questions on these videos.